Hello everybody, welcome to this wonderful, basically, I'm Joey Alex, welcome. So basically, in this day of the week, it's going to be for April the 28th to May 3rd of 2025. So basically, in this reading I'm going to provide you, I hope it's going to be every single thing that's going to be very how it is, and this is how it's going to be in that way. Um, I think that my own standards, my own ways, my own considerations of how it's going to be, I think that everything will be fine, dandy, what have you. But, the way of how this is, the way how I can, how everything is, it's going to be very interesting on how it is. And you think that everything is going to be all, how it is. And you think that, okay, well, everything seems to be fine. It's like, well, yeah, that's the way, that's how it is. But why is it going to be very how it is in that way? And you think that, oh well, everything's going to be fine, dandy, what have you. But then it's going to be very interesting indeed, right? This is the way it's going to be. And when everything seems to be in that way, and you have to have your own way about your own abilities, your own syncrasies, your own beliefs, you think that, okay, well, everything's going to be fine. But then you have to understand about how this day of the week is, and it's the way it seems to be. So this is like gonna be like almost like an all signs reading, but without the timestamps, because this is the way it is. So I'm gonna go from earth signs, air signs, fire signs, and water signs, because I'm gonna go through what's happening in every single situation. And at the end of the video, I'll be doing a enchantment map, so I can see what's going on in this whole entire situation. But the way of how this is, the way of how everything is going to be, I think to myself is like, well, this is going to be very how it is, right? So this is the way of how it is, and you think that, okay, well, everything's going to be good, right? That's the way it is. So, that's the way it seems to be. But nonetheless, is that this is the way it is, and the gradual situation is the way of how it is, and you have to understand that, right? This is the way of how it seems to be, and you have to understand about how it is and one way or another. So in this oracle card, it says honesty. I can't always expect the truth from others, but I can expect it for myself. That's the way it is, where you being honest with yourself, you go with the flow, you do what you can, because that's the way it's going to be, That's why it is, because you have to understand that. And when you have your honesty, whether you do exactly what you're told to do, you have to be responsible on how it's going to be, right? Whether you're telling the truth, whether you know what to do. But that's how it's going to be, right? That's how it remains. And when everything seems to be right in the whole entire situation, you believe about what's going on in that way. That's the way it goes, right? Because you have to know about the truth. And you have to know about that, whether if you're not going to be spreading lies or whatever it is. But you have to understand, but when you have honesty, you pay attention about the above and beyond of that situation, whether you like it or not. But that's how it's going to be in that way. Alright? So I'm going to go for the earth signs first, air signs, fire signs, and water signs. So this is how it is. So the first one is, the king of earth is generous, professional, responsible, practical. A successful time confidently accept opportunities. You are offered the nice touch. That's the way it kind of goes. This is how it is. So this is the way it's going to be, and this is how this reading is going to go. And this is going to be for Virgo, Capricorn, and Taurus, and that's the way it's going to be. So I'm going to go with that. And then this is the way it kind of is in that moment, and it's going to be very interesting indeed. So this is how it's going to go and how it's going to be played out during the day of the week situation, and knowing what's happening in this whole entire situation. So here we go. So basically, in this whole entire way about the situation, basically the way of how this is, basically you have to understand about how it's going to be in that way. So, for Virgo, Capricorn, and Taurus during this week, for April 28th to May 3rd of 2025, you have to pay attention to what's going on. If you're planning on something for celebration, go ahead. The Fool is upright, there's change. Everything is going to change. The Ten of Swords reversed, there's no conclusions yet, nothing yet. The World reversed, there's incompletion. The King of Cups reversed, there's no support, not yet. But there are things that you must learn first. In order to do that, you have to understand about how you can have your own limitations of how it's going to be, because that's how it is, right? So that's how it seems to be in that way. Sorry, my voice is a little bit low today. I'm sorry about that. This is how it's going to be. So let's see what's going on. So go from the King of Cups reversed all the way to the Four of Wands during what's going on with this week. So the Queen of Swords reversed, followed by the Wheel of Fortune reversed, followed by the Knight of Wands is upright, followed by the Strength card is upright. Yeah, because you want strength, you want the way of how it is. The Knight of Wands is upright because you're acting to be immature. You know that's the way it goes because you're thinking, I got this, I know what to do. It's like, well, yeah, but then you're having bad luck. Like you're thinking, well, this is not going to end well. No, because you're focusing about what's going on that way. You're focusing about, this is the way of how it is. This is like the here and now process. But it's like, well, does it make sense? Does it make any reality about this whole entire situation? That's the way it goes. That's why it seems to be that. That's the way it happens. What's happening with this Fool, the Ten of Swords reversed, and the World? King of Cups reversed, the Lovers reversed, the Two of Pentacles is upright, followed by the Page of Swords reversed, followed by the Two of Cups is upright. Yeah, so there's no education, because you could have education. The King of Cups reversed, there's no support. The Lovers reversed, there's no decisions. The Two of Pentacles is upright because you're balancing two things at once. The Page of Swords reversed, you already have education. That's the way it goes. Two of Cups is upright, does represent friendships, relationships. That's what it's on. Because it's based on that. It's based on how it is in that way, and you're thinking, well, this is going to be a very situation. That's the way it kind of goes in that way. What's going on? What's happening with this universe here? Let's see what the universe is going to say. The Three of Pentacles here. So you're not balancing. You're not having any celebration. That's the way it kind of occurs. But then let's see what's going on. What the universe is saying here. What's happening? So let me do the 3-card reading for the left side, and in the middle, and the right. Three of Pentacles is upright, followed by the Eight of Swords is upright, followed by the High Priestess is upright. Yeah, because you want to use your inner voice, you want to have anxiety, you want to have excitement. That's the way it goes in that way, right? You're thinking, well, I don't want to think back, but that's the way it goes, because you have to honor about how you can understand that, right? You have to do what you can, what it takes, beyond about that situation. That's the way it goes. What's happening in the middle? They want you, there's no speed. Yeah, because you're gonna feel like, you can't take this anymore. You're feeling drained. You're feeling how it is. You're feeling like, well, I'm feeling a little bit tired. Whatever it is, because there's something that was happening in that situation. So what's happening between the middle and the right side? The Six of Wands here is there's no achievement. Eight Pentacles upright, there's perfection. Page of Cups here is there's no loyalty. Two of Wands upright because you want planning. That's the way it goes, right? That's the way it seems to be, because you have to know about what it takes, what's beyond about that situation. The way of how you can be unexpected. That's the way it kind of occurs, because in one way or another, you're thinking, well, this is the way of how it goes. So what's between the middle and the right side? The Emperor reverse, there's no structure. The Star reverse, there's no inspiration. The Sun curves out right, so there's going to be positivity. Alright, so that's the way it goes. So we're going to have positivity. That's the way it seems to be in that way. And you're thinking, okay, well, this is the way it seems to be. What's happening between the middle and the left side? The Tower is upright, followed by the Star reversed, followed by the Temperance reversed, followed by the World is upright. Yeah, because you're not going to be healing. You don't want inspiration. That's the way it goes. Like, you're not wishing upon a star. And the Tower is upright, there's transformation. Everything is going to change. So when you think about it, that's the way it goes. Because you're thinking, well, this is the way it seems to be. I don't want to, do this anymore, whatever it is. But then it's like, well, this is the way it seems to be. It's the here now situation, right? Whether you like it or not. But then you prove yourself wisely to do that, to do what it takes beyond that point, right? Beyond about that consideration on knowing what to do. That's the way it goes. Okay. So you know what to do. Virgo, Capricorn, Taurus. Because believe me, it makes sense, That's the way it kind of occurs. Okay, what's going on for the next one? The Page of Air. Logical, honest, impulsive, curious. Challenging information, delays or changes to plans. Truth delivered without tact. Yeah, that's the way it kind of goes. So this could be, for Gemini, Libra, Aquarius. But let's see what's going on in this situation. Let's see what's going on. For Gemini, Libra, Aquarius for April 28th to May 3rd, 2025. Alright, interesting. Okay. Alright. So basically in this situation that I'm saying okay, alright, the Ten of Swords up right there is conclusions. There's a lot of conclusions here. The Fool reverse, there's no change. The Ace of Cups reverse, there's no romance here. The Dove reverse, there's no obsessions. The Nine of Swords reverse, there's no fear or trauma. But the King of Cups is already good because you're having support. Alright, way to go for that. But the way of how this is, the way how you can do this is basically how you can underestimate the way of how this is, because that's the way it kind of occurs, and that's the way it kind of is in that moment. So you're thinking, okay, well, this is the way it seems to be. I know what to do. I got this, but it's like, doesn't make any sense, right? So it's like you have to do what you can. So let's see what's going on. I'm going from the Nine of Swords all the way to the Fool. The Sun reversed, Two of Swords reversed, Knight of Cups reversed, and the Eight of Wands reversed. Yeah, see, there's no speed, nothing, no. The Knight of Cups reversed, there's no romance. The Two of Swords is reversed, means you already know which path you're going to be going. And the Sun card reversed, there's negativity. That's the way it goes, because when you have negativity, it's like, why? Why I'm feeling this? Why I'm feeling like that? Because that's the way it goes, right? In the situations, it's like where you're trying to figure out about how you can occur this situation, where you're going to think positive, not the negative. But when you have negative, it's like it's drawn to you. It's like there's a magnet that's drawn to you, and when there's a magnet, it's attacking that situation. It's attacking about not the positive, but the negative, right? And it's basically drawn to your energy, because you're thinking, well, this is not going to end well. It's not, because that's the way it goes. That's why it kind of occurs that about how you like it or not. But that's the way it seems to be. You're trying to overachieve something, but it's not working out, because you're thinking, well, this is not going to end well. It's not, because now you have all these conclusions, right? That's the way it seems to be. So that's the way it seems to be. So between the Ten of Swords all the way to the Devil, let me clarify that. Devil is upright, followed the World reversed, followed the Empress reversed, followed the Three of Swords reversed. Yeah, because there's no heartbreak, there's no nourishment, the World reversed, there's incompletion. The Devil is upright because there's obsessions, there's violence, there's lots of things are going on. What's happening between this Three of Swords here? Four of Cups reversed, followed the Seven of Swords reversed, followed the Page of Pentacles reversed, followed the Empress is upright. Yeah, because you want healing. Yes, you would. But then it's like, why? Why feel like this? Because it's drawn to you. Because energies don't lie. No, they don't. But that's how it is. Because when you have the King of Cups upright, you have support. Yes, everything is great, but then it's like, well, doesn't make any sense, right? Does it occur about this situation? No, that's the way it goes. So what's happening between the Sun card and the King of Cups here? The Eight of Cups is upright, yeah, because you want to entertain it, right? You want to entertain that, but you're not being entertaining. It's like, why? Why I feel like this, right? Because this is the way it seems to be, right? You can't fix stupid. No, you can't. But the way of how this is, you have to coordinate what's going on in this situation, whether you like it or not. But it's based on that, how you can do it, right? It's based on how you're going to figure out what's going on in these situations, whether you like it or not. But this is just how the reading is, whether you like it or not, but you pay attention to it. So you could be focusing on another, Pisces, Cancer, Scorpio. You could be focusing on Capricorn as another Earth sign. Like, there are things you must learn first. But in order to do that, that's the way it goes, right? You're trying to focus about how you can do that. So what's happening with what the universe is saying here is we have the Tower reverse. So there's no transformation here. There's no transformation. But then there are things that you're trying to figure out. So, it's the way it kind of occurs, because you're thinking, well, I need to figure this out. Well, okay, let's start at a very beginning, right? That's the way it seems to be. So let's start off. Let's see what the universe is saying. What's between the middle and the right side? The Star is upright. Follow the Sun card reverse. Follow the Emperor is upright, means that you have structure. Yes, you have structure. You want to have inspiration. You want to wish upon a star. All right, that's great. The Sun reverse, you have negativity, right? Because that's the way it goes, right? Because it's drawn to that. Because when you have negative here, you have negative here. That's the way it goes, right? Because things are not going as planned. Things are not going your way. It's like, why? Why like having this situations? Because that's the way it kind of occurs. So let's see what's going on here. Let's see. So what's going on from the middle and the left side? The sun reversed. The Hermit is upright, while the Magician is upright. Yeah, because you want skill, you want solitude, maybe you want a soulmate, whatever it is. But then you have basically negativity again, with this another Sun card. That's reversed, by the way. So when you have this, it's like, well, this is not the way I'm seeing it. This is not crystal clear. It's not. It's based on that. It's based on how you're feeling. Because you're thinking, well, why I'm feeling like this? Because things are not going as planned. Things are not going your way. So what's between the middle and the left, middle to the right? So the Tower is upright, there's transformation. The Queen of Swords here, there's no independence. The Strength card is upright, there's bravery. The Seven of Pentacles here, there's no vision. Four of Wands reversed, there's no celebration. Two of Cups reversed, there's no relationships. The Hierophant reversed, there's no guidance. Page of Pentacles reversed, there's no prospects. But Ace of Swords is upright because there's an understanding here. Yes, there is an understanding, but when you have no independence, you're not doing things by yourself. You want others to do things for you. That's the way it goes, right? Because you're acting, well, I want to do this, I want to, but then it's like, no, I don't want to do it. Because it's like, why? Well, you're acting to be, how you are. Do you want to do things for yourself? Probably. But then if you're not, why are you acting like that? No independence, nothing about that. It's like, why? That's why it seems to be, because you have to look at the 5 W's is who, what, where, when, why, and sometimes how in that situations. That's the way it goes. What's happening between the middle and the right side? The 5 Wands, sorry, there's chaos. There's no decisions. The Magician's upright, there's skill. Yes, that's the way it goes. What's in the middle? The 3 of Swords here, there's reverse of there's no heartbreak. The 5 Pentacles here, there's no insecurity. The 8 Pentacles here, there's no perfection. 2 Wands here, there's no planning. But Page of Cups upright, there's loyalty. Yeah, because when things go in different direction, and when there are things that you must learn first, you have to understand that. You have to gradual of how it seems to be in that way. You're thinking, well, this is the way it seems to be. I got this. But it's like, well, how does it make sense? How you think that everything seems to be in that way, in that order, in that profession about what's going on? Because if you're using the word honesty, you pay attention to it, right? That's why it seems to be. But when you have negativity, it's drawn to that situations, right? Everyone's going to back away from that situation. Whether you're trying to figure out, well, why is everyone backing away? That's why it seems to be. Because they don't like the negativity, or they don't like what you're saying to them, or whatever it is, right? That's why you need to understand about that you're understanding, you're having loyalty, or you're going to have skill. Or there's chaos, because you can't handle it anymore. That's why it seems to be. Okay, so you're trying to look at this from a different way, alright? So that's how it goes. Gemini, Libra, Aquarius. Pay attention to it, okay? hope that these readings will make sense to whoever is going to be watching this video, but that's the way it kind of goes. Right, on to the next one. Alright, let's see. 6 of Fire is victory. Good news is on its way, public recognition or awards. That's the way it kind of occurs, because that's the way it seems to be. So this could be for Leo, Aries, Sagittarius, for April 28th to May 3rd, 2025. So let's see what's going on here. So let's see what's going on. Ooh, this is very interesting indeed. So you have the 3 of Pentacles reversed, there's no excitement. The Tower reversed, there's no transformation. The 2 of Wands reversed, there's no planning. The Knight of Swords is upright because there is trauma, drama here. The Empress reversed, there's no nourishment, and the Hangman is upright, there's restrictions. Okay, so it's based on that. It's based on how you're feeling and the way of how this is, because of the way of how this is going to occur in the whole entire situations, whether this is. So you have to try to, based on how you're telling in this way, and it's the way it seems to be in that way, because you're thinking, well, this is the way it seems to be in that way of how it is, right? So you have to remain about how you can do it in society, of how it's going to be in that way, and you're thinking, well, this is the way it seems to be, because it's that time of how it's going to be in one way or another. So let's see what's going on. So we go from the Empress all the way to the 3 of Pentacles. 8 of Swords is upright, 4 of Pentacles is upright, followed by the Queen of Pentacles reversed, followed by the 2 of Cups reversed, followed by the Page of Swords is upright. Yeah, so there's no friendships or relationships, but it's based on how you're going to have education, because you're going to learn something. The 4 of Pentacles is upright because maybe you're looking for money, maybe you could be doing that. The 8 of Swords is upright because there's anxiety, because you're feeling like you're going to be sad, whimpering, whatever it is, because that's the way it goes, because things are not going as planned, right? So you have to understand about how this is, because how it's going to be in that way. You're thinking, well, this is the way it seems to be, I got this, I know what to do. That's how it's going to be in that way, right? You're thinking, well, I can do it, I can understand about how I can relate this. This is the way it seems to be in that way, alright? What's happening between the Tower and the Knight of Swords? The 4 of Wands is upright, followed by the Page of Wands reversed, followed by the 5 of Wands reversed, followed by the 3 of Cups reversed, followed by the Knight of Pentacles is upright. Yeah, because you're feeling that you're going to have immaturity, because that's the way it seems to be in that way. The 4 of Wands is upright. There are celebrations here because you want to celebrate. That's the way it seems to be. That's the way of how it kind of occurs in this way. You're trying to have discipline. You're trying to pay attention on what's happening in that way. You're trying to believe that everything seems to be fine, but then it's like, well, this is the way it seems to be. I know what to do. I got this. But it's like, well, I need to pay attention on how it is, because that's the way it seems to be in that way. What's happening between the 8 of Swords and the Hangman? The 4 of Swords is upright. Yeah, because you're resting, right? You're taking a rest. You're taking about how it's going to be in that way. You're thinking, well, this is the way it needs to be. I need to occur about this, because this is the way it seems to be. This is like how I need to do what it can, to invest or whatever. You're trying to have healing, or you're trying to, rest your energy, whatever it is, because that's the way it seems to be. You're resting. Yes, it's fine, but then doesn't make sense. Doesn't make any, wily about how it is in that way, right? That's the way it seems to be. Let's see what the universe is saying here. The Ten of Swords here is there's no conclusions, nothing. Okay, so that's how it is. But the way how this is, the way how this is going to go, let's see what's happening in this situations. So what's happening on the left side here. The Wheel of Fortune reverse, the Emperor's reverse, the Justice reverse, but then you have the Strength card is upright. Yeah, because you want to have strength, because that's the way it seems to be. The Wheel of Fortune reverse, you're having bad luck because things are not going as planned, and you're thinking, well, when you're having the Justice reverse, it means you're not telling the truth, you're lying about something. I don't know why, but you have to pay attention about refresh your own memory or your own energies, whatever it is, because you need to understand that, right? You're thinking about how it's gonna be in that way. What's going on for the right side, please? The Moon is upright, followed by the Hangman reversed, followed by the Strength card reversed. Yeah, see, on the left side you have strength. That's fine. When you have the Strength reversed, you have no strength, right? So you're feeling like you're feeling high, you're feeling low at the same time, right? That's what the energies are, because you have to do what you can and think, well, this is the way it seems to be. I got this. But it's like, I don't know if you are. I don't know. But that's how it seems to be. What's happening between the Strength cards here? The High Priestess is upright, yeah, because you want to use your inner voice. Yeah, because that's the way it seems to be. You're trying to have an inner voice because you're trying to use it as a way of how you can do it in one way or another. You're thinking, well, this is the way it seems to be. I need to understand about how I can reoccur about this situation, whether I like it or not, whether it's, how it's going to be, of how it's going to be, right? That's why it seems to be that. So what's going on? What's happening? So what's the universe is going to say here? So I'm going to go from the middle to the left, middle to the right. Three of Swords over, there's heartbreak. Strength card reverse, there's no strength, there's no bravery. The Lovers is alright, there's decisions. The Magician reverse, there's no skill. But the Four of Wands is alright, there's celebration. Yeah, because that's the way it goes, right? If you have the Lovers, you have decisions. You're going to make decisions whenever you like it or not, but that's how it reoccurs. That's why it seems to be that, right? Because you pay attention on how you're feeling, how you're acting, how you can understand that. That's the way it goes. When you have Strength reverse, you have no bravery. You're not being brave. But that's the way how it goes, right? Because you pay attention, whether you like it or not. Whether you think that, well, this is the way it seems to be, I know what to do, but then it's like, I don't want to face this. But it's like you have to face it. You have to know what's going on in that way. That's why it seems to be. What's happening between the middle and the right side, please? The Seven of Pentacles upright, so you're going to look for your career. The Page of Cups here, there's no loyalty, but the Two Wands is upright, you're planning on something. Yeah, that's the way it seems to be, in that way. Because you want to have planning, you want to know what you're doing. That's the way it goes. The Page of Cups here, there's no loyalty, because you're not being loyal. That's how it is. Because you're thinking, well, I want to do it, but then it's like, does it revolve the situation, right? Does it make sense, right? Because how it is that, right? Because that's why it seems to be in that way. What's in the middle of the situation? The Pentacles are right, there's perfection. Yeah, that's the way it kind of is, in that way. Because you're thinking, well, this is the way it needs to be. I need to understand about how I need to invest about this situation, That's why it needs to be. That's why it needs to understand about how it goes in that way, right? You're thinking, well, this is the way it seems to be. I know what to do, but then you have your own life experience, or you have to have your own beliefs or your own ways and saying, all right, well, I know what to do, I got this, but then it's like, well, this is the way it seems to be. This is the way it can occur of the situations that you like it or not, but then you have perfection, or you're going to have celebration, or you're going to plan on something, or you're looking for a career, or whatever it is. You need to understand that, because when you have heartbreak, you're feeling, you're sad, you're whimpering, whatever it is, because you have to understand that. You have to believe on who you are and understand that, right? That's the way it seems to be. But understand that, okay? Leo, Aries, Sagittarius, pay attention to it, okay? Just understand that everything will come together, and you have to understand that, alright? Right, so let's see. And last but not least is the page of water. It says, intuitive, sensitive, artistic, friendly. A new person enters your life. Relationship begins a new phase. Heightened psychic abilities. That's the way it kind of is in that way. And because it's the way it seems to be now, how it is. And you have to understand that how it seems to be. So this could be for Pisces, Cancer, and Scorpio. So this is for water signs. So it's gonna be like almost the end of the video, almost, and then I'll do the enchant map. So let's see what's going on for April 28th to May 3rd, 2025. So let's see what's going on. Let's see. Interesting. Interesting. Ooh, look at that. Alright, so this is going to be very interesting indeed. Why? Let me tell you something. The 10 of Swords here, there's no conclusions. Alright? The Magician's up right here is going to have skill. The 5 of Wands is up right, there's chaos here. The 9 of Swords is up right, there's trauma here. 6 of Wands is up right, there's maybe a celebration kind of thing. And the Knight of Swords here, there's no drama yet. Nothing yet. But the way of how this is, like, this is a beautiful reading, by the way. But it makes sense that, yes, chaos, yes, things are not going as planned. But then it's like, it's the way it kind of occurs. So it's like, it's the way it is, and you have to understand about what it takes, about what's going on in this situation, right? So let's see. So let me go from from the Six of Wands all the way to the Ten of Swords. The Chariot is upright, so there's progress. Three of Wands is upright, there's communication. Page of Swords reversed, there's no education. Four of Wands reversed, there's no celebration. The Page of Pentacles is upright, there's prospects here. That's the way it goes in that way, because you're focusing on how it is, and you have to understand the way of how it is, the way how it happens, because that's the way it goes. If you want to communicate, go ahead, communicate. Because you want to understand that. You want to pay attention on how you can pay attention in one way or another, but then this is the way it seems to be in that way, right? You're thinking, well, I know what to do, I got this, but then it's like, alright, this is the way it seems to be. Right? This is the way it kind of occurs. What's happening between the Magician and the Nine of Swords here? The Nine of Wands is upright, followed with the Ten of Cups is upright, followed with the King of Pentacles reversed, followed with the Nine of Cups is upright, followed with the Ace of Pentacles is reversed, but then you have the Seven of Pentacles is upright, because you're focusing on your career. Everything is fulfilled, that everything is fulfillment. Everything that is completion, but the Nine of Wands is upright because you're having fear. Yeah, because it's based on that, right? You're trying to understand about how you can do it in one way or another, right? When you have situations like this, it's like you're trying to do what it takes to understand about how you can build this up, right? You're trying to understand about how it's going to be in that way, right? Because you have to understand that. What's happening between the Chariot and the Knight of Swords? The Eight of Swords reversed, followed the Four of Swords reversed, Five of Pentacles reversed, but the Nine of Swords is alright, yeah, because there's trauma here. Yeah, that's the way it kind of occurs, because, I don't want to be mean or rude to you, but the way of how this is, it's like, you have to understand this. Pisces, Cancer, and Scorpio. You pay attention about how you're feeling, how it's going to be in that way. You're thinking, well, how I can do it, how I can have my own motivation of saying, alright, well, I know what to do, I got this, but then you have to have your own creativeness and saying, alright, this is the way it goes, I need to do it. That's the way it seems to be, right? Because when you know what it takes, you have to know what's going on, right? You have to understand about how it's going to be in that way, and you have to focus about that. Focus that what's happening around that situation, whether you like it or not, right? Because you like all this situation, but it has to be how it's going to be drawn to you of how it is, alright? That's the way it seems to be. So let's see what's going on for the universe. Let's see what the universe is going to say here. What's going on? The world is upright because there is completion here. Yeah, because everything is completed, right? Now you're thinking, oh, well, okay, everything's completed, alright, I'm going to move on. Not yet. Not necessarily. Because now you have to understand what the universe is going to say between the left side and the right side. So what's happening on the left side? The Justice is upright. The Strength card reversed. Well, the Empress is upright. Yeah, because you want to have nourishment. Yes, you're having no bravery because you're not being brave. But the way of how this is like this is the way it occurs. The Justice is upright because you're telling the truth. That's awesome, right? But the way of how this is how it's going to be in that way. Is you're thinking, okay, well, I know how I can do this, but the way of how this is, how I can understand this, right? Because you're trying to not tampering, you're not doing anything about it, but the way of how this is, you're trying to do what you can to understand that, right? Because you have to, do what it takes, and you have to do exactly what you're told to do. You have to be responsible. What's happening on the right side? The Strength card is upright, but the High Priestess is reversed, but the Hangman is upright. Yeah, because you're not using your inner voice, but you have this strength on your right side means that you have the bravery to do what you can, and the Hangman is upright because you have restrictions, right? That's the way it goes. When you have restrictions, it's like you're thinking, well, I know what to do, I got this, but then you have all these restrictions like I can't do this, or I don't want to do it, or whatever it is, because you don't want to. But the way of how this is, you have to understand that. You have to go with the flow, right? You have to go with the flow. That's what it seems to be. So let's see what the universe is saying here. Let's see what the universe is saying here. So I'm going from the middle to the left, middle to the right. So there's the Ace of Swords here. There's a misunderstanding here. Three Cups, there's celebration. The Judge of the Earth, you're not telling the truth because you're lying about something. The Knight of Pentacles, you're not trust. You don't have trust. And the Emperor, there's no structure. The Knight of Wands, there's no immaturity. Page of Wands, there's no invention. But the Page of Pentacles, there's prospects here. That's the way it goes, right? Because when you have all these things, whether you're not telling the truth, when you're not having trust, whatever it is, because things are not going as planned. But when you pay attention, you know what to do, right? This is the way it seems to be. If there's a misunderstanding here, this is a misunderstanding. Because that's the way it goes, right? Everything is a misunderstanding, but you pay attention on what's happened. You know, that's the way it goes, right? You have to know about behind the scenes, right? That's the way it seems to be, right? That's the way it goes. What's happening between the middle and the right side, please? The Hierophant is separate because you want guidance. Two of Cups is separate. There's relationships. The Queen of Pentacles here, there's no stability. But the Ace of Wands is separate. There's new beginnings. Yeah, because that's the way it seems to be, right? So when you're in relationships, or when you have guidance, or when you have new beginnings and everything else, everything is going as planned. Is you're thinking, well, this is a very good opportunity. I like this. That's why it seems to be, right? That's the way it kind of occurs. Because that's the way it seems to be. You're beyond about that point of how it is, right? Because you're going from level by level, from level 1 all the way to level 10, or you're halfway there. But you have to keep going as it is. What's in the middle of the situation here? The Nine of Swords here, there's no trauma. The Four of Wands here, there's no celebration. But the Magician is celebrate their skill. Yeah, because you're going to have skill. Right? And when you have skill, you have the opportunity to understand what's going on when it takes about how your honesty, right? When you have honesty, you pay attention, what works, what doesn't work, whatever it is, but then you have to understand about how it is, right? And you have to, I'm not going to say play by the rules, but the way how this is, you're trying to understand what's happening in that way. You're trying to, how to understand about what's going on in that way, right? You're trying to do what it takes, and you have to do what you know to do, and you have to understand that, right? So let's see what's going on with this beautiful, reading that I'm trying to do. And this is like the day of the week, so I hope that you pay attention to this, and this is the way it goes. So let's see. So number 4 reversed, their follow the leader is reversed. So let's see what's going on. Because you want to hear my beautiful voice, right? So this is going to be very interesting indeed. So let's see. So here I'm going to read it. It says, reverse, it says, reverse. The follow the leader card offers a gentle push to get up and take the lead. In relationship or partnership, be the one to voice what must be said. Muster your courage and speak your needs aloud. Affirm what you like, what you feel. Don't just hope for someone else to fix the problems you see. If your inquiry is about a career or project, you must take the initiative to draw up a proper plan. And if it's about a personal relationship, you must be clear about your intentions and desires. Boldly begin a discussion about how things really are and how to make the situation work for the highest good of all. Do this as soon as possible. You may be pleasantly surprised by the results. So that's how it is, right? Because you're trying to understand that you don't want someone to fix your problems for you. But the way how this is, and the way of how it kind of occurs, you have to understand that. Because you have to believe about how it's going to be in that way. You're trying to understand about how it's going to be in that way, right? This is the way it seems to be. This is the way about beyond this point, because in that way you have to understand about how you can understand, how you can believe it, how you're going to understand, right? The way how this is, the way of how I'm going to try to explain it very clearly to all of you is that you pay attention to what's happening. If you have honesty, if you pay attention to how you're feeling, how you're being wanted, how you're being needed, that's what it seems to be. Because you don't want to get bullied, harassed, or taken advantage of, being used, whatever it is, because that's very unnecessary to do that, right? You're trying to have a good way of knowing what to do in that way, whether you have a strength, when you have no strength, when you're feeling like you're having fear, whatever it is. You're trying to understand about what's happening, right? If you have a violation, or if you're feeling like you're going to say bad language or whatever it is, you're trying to get what you want. You're trying to want others to pay attention to you or whatever it is. But you have to pay attention on how you're feeling, how you're being wanted, how you're being needed, so on and so forth. That's how it is. But I hope you all like this video. And this is the way it is going to be. You need to understand about how it is, and this is the way it is. So I hope you all like it. Please give it a like, please give it a comment, and you need to understand that this is just how the reading goes, and this is the way it's going to be. So I hope you all like this video. Please understand this and understand how it is. This is the way it's going to be, and this is the way it goes, because there is a way of knowing what to do, and that's how it is, right? That's why it seems to be. But thank you so much. Have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time. Thank you. Bye.